all, I want to thank my dear friend Akamumi for a really powerful speech. And we have learnt quite a lot already today, friends, but the one thing we have definitely learnt is that both Dr. Adesina and Patrick are available at 4 a.m. in the morning, if you want to call them. So test it. But Excellencies, it is indeed a pleasure to join you all, and I want to thank President Tshisekedi for bringing us together and for his inspiring speech. And I have to say to you, friends, that over the last year, I have traveled extensively in this role, and I've obviously spent time in Africa. I've visited Ethiopia, Egypt, Kenya, Gabon, and Nigeria, and I have seen firsthand the terrible effects that climate change is having across the continent. And I could relay a whole range of testaments that I have received, but just a few days ago, I spoke to women in Madagascar who are having to cope with what some have described as the first climate-induced drought in the world. 4 years without rain. This is the bleak future that we are facing unless we get to grips with climate change. And these women told me that they can no longer farm. They can no longer farm because of climate change. And as we've just heard, the continent is responsible for just 3% of global emissions, 3%. And therefore I agree that the injustice is stark. And despite the energy and the commitment that I've seen in many African nations to adapt, a gulf has existed between the need and the international response. And that is why adaptation has been central to the UK's COP26 presidency, and that will continue in our presidency year. And of course, we've seen some progress. Under the UK presidency of the G7, every G7 nation has committed to increase finance for adaptation. And the UK and other countries have come together and they've committed to balance adaptation and mitigation spending. And yet, much more is needed. And I can promise you that I will continue, the UK presidency will continue to push these issues, both over this COP, but also in our presidency year. And we want to make progress on adaptation and the Santiago Network on loss and damage through the COP26 negotiations. And the UK will support and will continue to support adaptation in Africa. You will know that the UK met its commitment to spend £5.8 billion in climate finance between 2016 and 2020, and we are now doubling that commitment. It's a commitment that Prime Minister Johnson made in 2019 at the UN General Assembly, and we are sticking with it. And in that time, from 2016 to 2020, £2.7 billion went into adaptation, and around half of that went to Africa. And so today, we launch a package of measures to further our commitment to African adaptation. And as Dr. Adesina has already outlined, Prime Minister Johnson has announced that the UK is offering the African Development Bank a guarantee expected to unlock up to $2 billion of new financing. And half of this will help countries adapt to climate impacts, supporting the vital work of the AAAP. And I congratulate African leaders for championing the AAAP. And I'm encouraged that the program is mobilizing private capital alongside public funds, which is so vital. And of course, I welcome all the pledges that have been made today, and I have further pledges that may be made. And I can also announce an initial $197 million in new funding for African adaptation from the UK government. $27 million of this will support the AAAP upstream facility to deliver technical assistance and a pipeline of bankable projects. Altogether, the package that we announced today is expected to unlock almost $1.2 billion for adaptation in Africa. And there will be more to come. And so I encourage all leaders to give African adaptation the focus and the finance it deserves. As I say, and as you've heard from our colleagues, the need is great and the injustice is stark. So let's ensure that when we meet in Africa for COP27, the foundations of African adaptation and resilience are very firmly laid. Thank you.